I've helped a lot of SaaS organizations and consultants and other advisors, agencies scale. I thought this would be a good thing to do. So let me just share my screen for a moment. And literally, I just have four or five slides I'd like to go through. And if you've been with me before, you've probably seen one of these, and you'll see why. So I guess the first question is, well, what do you mean by digital strategy? Because if you go to people who sell software, it's very clear. Digital strategy is, let's implement e-commerce, or let's implement CRM, or let's do a website, or speak to a marketer who says, well, let's figure out email and everything and marketing automation, whatever it is. There's all these things and more with respect to digital strategy. We're not even talking about transformation, if you will, but that's part of it as well. So how do you go about actually implementing it? And the answer, if we're to take just one of these little silos, social media, top right corner, and say, okay, well, in this particular case, what's your Facebook strategy, your LinkedIn strategy, and your TikTok strategy? Well, those aren't strategies. None of those are strategies. It uses the word strategy, but it is not strategy. What all those things are is, gee, let's come up with some instructions on how to use a tool. A strategy moves us from nobody knows who the heck we are to people are signing up, right? People are signing the contracts. So the question about where all these things fit in is really the question that I want to talk about, because they're all very, very interconnected. And I know in the 20 minutes or so I'll be talking, and then we'll have a few minutes to review some websites. Then it's open season on Q&A, and I'd love to answer them in the last third of our session. Excuse me. How does it fit in? And what's the framework that we use and works best? And honestly, this has worked with, 100+ organizations we've done this with. So let me just move on and share something that we call the trust curve. And some of you may have seen this already, so I don't mean to repeat it. But if you haven't, essentially it says that at the very beginning, no one knows who we are. And eventually, in commitment is they sign the contract, they sign up, they purchase whatever we have to sell. But in between, there's preference and trial. Awareness, they don't know who you are. Preference, well, they prefer you over the alternatives. Trial is they test drive you, right? Just like when you buy a car, you go for a test drive. Well, this is what this is. Commitment is okay, they sign the contract. And along the way, we can use content and different types of content at each stages of the trust curve to help grease the wheels to make it a lot easier for people to see. And obviously, the top of funnel type content for awareness is just stuff that maybe people read and say, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, gee, I did. Preference type content is really more stuff which says, they really know what they're talking about. Gee, I think they're better than everyone else. Gee, I think it's more appropriate for me. The trial content is stuff where people can say, yeah, I can actually test drive you. I can see you sort of speak. I could read kind of what you're thinking about. I can do a little bit of work to experience you in a certain type of way. And commitment is content are the things that make it easier for people to sign, and whatever that happens to be. That's the trust curve. And the reason why I'm spending the time on it now is because I'm going to actually take you behind the scenes on what we do in our firm to help move people all the way up through the commitment. At the very bottom of the trust curve, you'll see three things. There's marketing and sales initiatives. Those are the individual marketing programs and sales programs and initiatives that you actually have going. For example, awareness and preference. Well, for example, going to a trade show might do that. Or advertising might help with awareness. Or, for example, sampling or giving a free trial, for example, is a particular initiative that you might do under trial. Commitment, it might be digital contracts or taking credit cards or standard terms of conditions or showing people what support looks like so they can test drive that and actually see, if I commit, there won't be any questions about it. So that's the marketing and sales initiative. Every organization has got different things, if you will, underneath awareness, preference, trial, commitment. And interestingly, where there's a problem with business growth, oftentimes It's that there's, say, too much awareness and preference and not much trial and commitment. Or, gee, they've got trial and commitment locked down, but there's not enough leads and not enough people at the very top of it. Or maybe there's stuff on either end, but nothing in the middle. So that's what marketing and sales initiatives are. Marketing automation is a software that recognizes that when somebody begins engaging with you, they may not be ready to say yes or no. It's not a newsletter that gets blasted out, okay, but it takes people on a particular journey of learning and of relationship building to the point that they're committed. CRM is the tracking of particular leads until they actually commit. So those are the two software layers, marketing automation and CRM, that are sort of underneath the trust curve. And that's theoretically how it works. So in my particular case, I do three things. I speak at conferences. I work with CEOs to help them scale their businesses, and also the BrainTrust Professional Institute, which is a whole bunch of courses for entrepreneurial leaders. And so in a certain sense, in our case, these are the three commitment things that we're looking for. Now, interestingly, I will say that if somebody actually hears me speak, they may say, well, gee, can you help us grow the business, because they're in the audience? Or it could very well be that some of my coaching clients say, you know something, I wouldn't mind having some of my team actually enrolled at the BrainTrust Professional Institute just so they tactically know how to do something. And it could very well be, although we don't sell it this way, that people can go to the BrainTrust Professional Institute, pop their credit card in and say, oh, I'm so enamored by this, we have to have Randall speak. Or maybe we should have him in and he could talk to our leadership team and do some coaching. But anyway, these are the endpoints in terms of our particular business. So if you think about your businesses, whatever your particular business is, whether it's a SaaS business, whether it's consulting, whether it's anything really, that's what goes down at that very end. But what happens? And what could you do? And what do we do between awareness and that particular point? So at the very beginning, and this is probably not not too exciting here, is we got a website. In this particular case, here's a website with a blog post. People read the blog post, it gets picked up by Google. It helps with the SEO, search engine optimization, and people read that and say, oh, I didn't know that Randall and his team actually know about this. Gee, maybe I should, maybe I consider it. Didn't know they existed, or I didn't know the problem existed, that we could actually solve it. So that's an example of awareness. Okay, further up the trust curve is a newsletter. And pretty much every organization's got some sort of regular communication out to their particular prospects and clients. Okay, we've got one. It's a business growth tip sheet. Comes out every week. Feel free to sign up by going to Randall Craig, or you can go to LinkedIn if you want. You could see it there as well. But you know what? If people get it week after week after week after week, they learn, they build trust, etc. But they also say, you know something, there's a lot of depth here. I think they may be able to actually help us. Okay, next up, and some of you may have podcasts. This is a lot bigger investment because it takes a lot of time. There's production and everything. We've got hundreds of these episodes, and it's the same thing with respect to the newsletter or the blog. In a certain sense, people find them. That's awareness. They listen to them over and over and over. That's preference. So some people say, well, gee, my digital strategy, I just don't want to invest in that. It doesn't matter, okay? You don't need to invest in that. If you think that you'd like to do a podcast, why not try and ask people who have podcasts if you could be their guest? Because if you're their guests, you could still use the podcast that features you, but you also get exposed to all of their audiences, which is a benefit in of itself. Okay, so that's podcast. In terms of next on our trust curve, is we use white papers extensively. These are deeper dives into a very, very narrow topic, and we've got 71 of them. I counted 71 of them. This one, a practical guide to advisory boards. Very often my clients are figuring out how to grow. They've got a certain size. They may be a coaching client. The question is, how do you sort of robustify kind of the support structure around? So here's a white paper that does it. It's a deeper dive. By the time they're reading this, most people are saying, yeah, these people really understand kind of what's necessary to grow the business, or to solve the complexity or whatever. But, you know, they haven't actually test driven. They haven't said, hey, Ronnie, can you help with such and such? Randall, can you help with such and such? They haven't said any of that yet. And that's really where trial comes in. Now, one way of trial is to go to the bookstore or Amazon and buy one of our books. And, you know, I've written 8 of them, and fine, you can read them, right? And you can say, yeah, I think that will work, you know, with us. Okay, and fine, that's one way of doing it. The other way is to experience, for example, these types of pop-ups. So we're doing a whole series of them, 1 a month, on different topics of interest to entrepreneurs. It certainly helps us, you know, think a little bit more deeply. What you're seeing right now on the trust curve is the first time we're actually sharing this kind of behind the scenes with anybody outside of the organization. But that's what the AI pop-up QA for leaders and the 2024 business growth Kickstart. When's that scheduled, Rania, by the way? Do you recall the date? I think it's in January, or is it December or January?
We have one December 6th, which is the Kickstart for 2024.
Okay, so that's the 2024 business growth Kickstart, just as an example. Yes, this is hot off the press, but this gives people a chance to say, okay, well, because it's a pop-up format, there's an opportunity for interaction, which is a bit of a test drive. Another idea for a test drive is to actually do audits and assessments. So at the bottom is a digital strategy audit. I threw it in here because we're talking about digital strategy, but we've got a bunch of other ones that we've got as well and working on. So this is something where we're able to say to a client, you know something, I'm not so sure we can help you. Why don't you sort of take this audit? It's got a few dozen questions and tick off the issues that you think are preventing you from growing to the next level or executing whatever it is that it is. And if we take a look at those things, we could say, yeah, I think we can help. Or this is a specific area that's the priority. Or no, we're probably not the right one. But once again, it gives a chance for a prospect to test drive. And at that point, at some point, the client will say, okay, Randall, we wouldn't mind speaking, having you speak at our conference. Now, I don't have it actually shown on the trust curve, but guess what? There's demo videos, right? Or a client may say, you know, Randall, I wouldn't mind working with you as a coach, but I'm not so sure. In which case I would say, well, you know what? Why don't we do an Ask Me Anything session? I'll put skin in the game and we'll spend an hour. You know, challenge me with your toughest questions. And at the end of the hour, if it looks like I might be able to help, I'll ask that question and you could decide for yourself. That's a trial. And with respect to BrainTrust Professional Institute or any kind of SaaS offering, guess what? When you go into any particular course, you can actually see the first module of every single one of them and have a bit of a preview, right? Without putting in a credit card or identifying yourself or anything. So the idea of using the trust curve and saying, okay, where does all this fit in is actually pretty important. And it's critical in terms of figuring out your, as they call it, the marketing stack. The tech stack that's underneath it typically will include marketing automation and CRM. The marketing and sales initiatives could include everything from partnership strategies and advertising and networking and going to trade shows and making affiliate deals and all the other things, all the other things at the same time. So I apologize for not having like 1,000 different slides to show you and everything. But the question about digital strategy is one that is, in my view, a question of how are these things wired together to achieve a particular goal, not just to do a technical integration or, you know, or to do creation of content for or spending money on advertising or whatever in a disconnected way if they're not wired together, right? Now, what's not shown on the trust curve, I'll also say one other thing, is the whole question of retention, the whole question of generating loyalty and advocacy, referrals and everything. That's kind of to the right of commitment. And in fact, they'll share something with you that's really, really insightful. Every single interaction that you have with your prospects and with your clients, trust will either go up or trust will go down. And if it goes up, they're going to move up that trust curve closer and closer to commitment. And if trust goes down at that particular touch point, you're going the wrong direction. And what happens when you go in the wrong direction? There's fewer referrals. There's less word of mouth, right? There's certainly less satisfaction. When you go the other direction, it's the exact opposite. You get everything that you want. I'll also share with you another fundamental piece of the trust curve. Every single touch point, whether it's buying a book or reading a blog post or doing a demo on your website or watching a video, or every single one is a trial for the next commitment. So for example, if you spend $30 or $20 on one of my books at Amazon, fine. Okay, that's a commitment. Maybe there's a bunch of stuff that I've done to get you to buy a book. Trust me, I'm not going to make my living selling books, but that book is a trial for maybe having you join a webinar like this, the pop-up Q&A like this. The pop-up Q&A, that's a test drive for the next thing, which might be an Ask Me Anything meeting, which might be a test drive for the next thing, which is coaching, which might be the next a test drive for the next thing, which might be speaking, which might be a test drive for the next thing, and so on and so on and so on and so forth. So when you think about what's the lifetime value of a client, right? It's really the question of moving them up the trust curve so that, yes, you're solving their problems, you're helping them grow their business, whatever your business actually does, right? But at the same time, they value what you've got on offer. And as a result of that, they pay your monthly fee. They buy your product. They engage you for your services. And that transfer of value is really sort of what we're going for. So before I move on, let me just open the floor. Are there any questions or comments from anybody who's here?
Randall, how much time do you spend building these materials in a given month?
You mean, can I translate for you that, Amy? Can I translate it for you?
I mean, I understand you've built a base, right, over time, but in an active sense going forward, what is your investment in this type of activity?
It goes up and down depending on the work that I'm doing with clients. So I tend to batch things, right? So I'll write a bunch of my tip sheets all at once, which end up, getting batched together into certain white papers because I've thought through this. Or, if I think about what might be in the books, right, I might do an outline, which might end up being in videos or bits and pieces that end up being taught in the various courses. So I do a huge amount of repurposing. Okay. One of the BrainTrust courses, I sort of open the kimono on precisely how I do all this stuff. It's super efficient editing and writing. Okay. But I batch it. I separate the ideation from the writing, the editing. I take on projects from time to time to do bigger things like a book or to put together another BrainTrust course. But once these things are created, they've got a very long shelf life. I should say, Amy, they've got a very long shelf life until they don't have a shelf life anymore because it's out of date. So what I typically will do is I'll spend some time literally between Christmas and New Year's every year saying, okay, what needs to be retired? What needs to be updated? What needs to be put on the schedule for the next year? And it's very much driven by what is it that the clients, for example, might be more or less interested in. So, for example, I had a small consulting firm. There's two partners in it, and they had some challenges communicating. They've been together for many years, very successful at what they're doing. They wanted to get the next level. And I put, there's a whole question of how do you keep each other accountable as you grow, and what are the processes and structures that you need to put in place. So that was something that more than one client had asked about over the months and years. So guess what? I spent like 3-4 hours putting together all of my experience on that very specific topic, right? Test drove it a few times and then sort of finalized the white paper. So when the client had a chance to, when we talked about that particular topic, guess what? We didn't talk about it. I gave them the white paper. They read through it, and then we started the conversation at a much higher order. So I think the question is how long does it take? Is the question of, gee, if you've been doing this for many, many years, you start to develop a library of all these things, right? And you know, but let me tell you, at the very beginning, I didn't have all this stuff. Okay, I had Randall who was consulting, and I had a website, period. Okay, but the question is where do you spend that time and effort, and how? And probably even more important is, what's the connection to all the stuff that you see here and all the very specific marketing and sales initiatives that you actually have in place? Okay, Dennis, yes, I see your hand is up.
Thank you, Randall. Amy, I was gonna just give you some feedback on. I met Randall last January on a coaching session, and he shared with me a white paper about how to prioritize workload and batching of content creation, because it was something that was quite sporadic for me as a partner in a business of 5. And I would have to say that the advice he gave me and the insight he gave me through the various white papers he shared with me, and the process that he put in, has transformed the way that I personally create content. And I would probably argue that I collect content to read during the week, and then I literally spend 2 hours reading and deciding which bits I want to talk about or refer to or are relevant to my various LinkedIn channels. So I would say you have to start with what's best for your organization for now, but then don't lose sight of what you've created if it can be repurposed, because repurposing is a massively efficient way of recycling information that people may have missed, but is still relevant because not everything moves so quickly. So, and the batching piece is one where I now try and do 4 or 5 videos in one go for the next month, rather than doing them intermediately. So it's just about, it was a very useful meeting that I first had with Randall last, because it stuck with me, but it also gave me some great hints as to how you get some of this stuff. You're not going to get, I don't think we get all of it, but we definitely do more than I would have done 6 months ago because of that conversation and that understanding.
Thank you.
That helps, Randall.
Yeah,
Thank
no,
you.
that was fantastic. You know, can I just bottle that up, Dennis, and you know, just plaster that everywhere?
Yeah,
No.
checks in the mail, Dennis.
So what I'll say though is that every minute you spend doing this is a complete and utter waste of time, unless it fits into a framework that drives to somebody signing a contract. Okay, if you're just you know, the first book I wrote, okay, it was called Leaving the Mothership. It did not have anything attached to it, and it was by sheer coincidence that it was a success. Sheer coincidence. Okay, now every single thing that that Rania and I do, it fits in. And I will have to say, you know, we're making some changes because there's some holes. You know, some things are less effective and other things are more effective, right? But the fact is it all sort of goes through, like in a process. Let me just sort of zip forward for a moment, okay? There we go. And I just want to talk very, very briefly, very briefly about AI. And the question about is, you know, is this like a bolt-on thing, right? And what you're seeing in the background, which I assure you it's almost impossible to read, is just the icons for hundreds of different AI programs that are out there now. Like every time you turn around, there's another program that does AI. And not just ChatGPT and Claude and Bard and some of the big ones for the big platforms. But my message to you is AI is being built into every single piece of technology. Every single piece of technology. There's an expectation of it, and it's going to happen. And whether it's for coding or images or CRM or content creation, like it's everywhere. So the question of when you decide to do AI, the question is thinking back to all of your marketing and sales initiatives. When you're thinking about all the things that you're doing to actually move business up that trust curve, how does and where does AI actually help you achieve your goal? Not, gee, does it have gee, I better learn about ChatGPT. It's a good idea to learn about it. Okay, don't get me wrong, but we want we want to have results. So does your CRM have AI on its roadmap? Okay. Do the tools you use right now have AI sort of on their roadmap, or at least the beginnings of it built in? Most probably do by now, but not everyone does. And so rather than running and say, oh, we're going to bolt on AI, just like we bolted on CRM, we bolted on social media, and we bolted on newsletters like eons ago, I don't think it's a bolt on. It's just integral to all the stuff that you're doing. That's all I really wanted to talk about AI before we go to the website hot seat. Now, that doesn't really look like me, but this is the best picture I could find of somebody just sitting there relaxing and everything. And that's not really the hot seat, but it's kind of the way I sort of feel about it. The reason why we're doing this right now, and the reason why I did this, is because when we're talking about the website, which is way over here on the far left, okay, there's roles for the website throughout awareness, preference, trial, commitment, right? There's all of these different things, okay? Most of this is digital, not the books, but everything else is. So when I speak and provide feedback on websites, on your websites, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of hearken back to that trust curve and ask the question, okay, how is this website fitting in based on the clues of what I actually see on the website itself? So before, we had Earl Sky who had said, yep, can you please provide the feedback on my website? Earl is a public speaking coach. Thumbs up. Is that a good characterization, Earl? Okay, so Earl is a speech coach for public speaking, and this is the website called Vocal Power. What I like about it, it's got the phone number at the top, and it's got some social icons there for proof and everything. What I would say now is that maybe having the social at the very, very top is, if somebody actually got your website, and it's tough to get people to a website, if people get here, the last thing you probably want them to do is to go somewhere else, unless there's a particular purpose. So I would say I would see about maybe putting them at the very bottom as opposed to at the very top. Mine are still at the very top. That probably should change at some point as well. But if you got them there, you want them to stay. Yes, you want them to stay there. Probably the most important thing, to remember is that no matter why somebody is out there and they choose to come to any of our websites, we got to remember they don't care about us. They care about how we can solve their problem. So if we can sort of very instantly get them to understand, aha, this is the problem that we're going to solve, then why? They'll just look at the website and move on. So the first thing that I see here is a picture of somebody. This is a stock image, and I don't mean to be brutal in sort of the comments, but Earl, you look like you're a handsome guy. Okay, the guy who's on the stock photo is not half as handsome as you are. Okay, I would expect that if you're truly the expert in public speaking and training people to use their voice, then it would be you in the front, not somebody else. And you know what? I've heard your voice. It's probably one of the most beautiful, broadcast voices that I've heard. Okay, I'd want to hear your voice. So having a video up front, not just a picture, I think is, making the case as to why this is important and demonstrating by example, I think is really important. Right? This website, it's got lots of information on. It's got some nice credentialed big names and everything. And so you were looking for proof points. So right at the very top, let's go to Facebook and let's just see what's there. Now, what we're looking for is stuff that is very, very, oh, look at this. May 31st, 2015. Earl, this is many, many years
It's
ago.
ancient. It's ancient. I've sort of fallen off the train track here.
Yeah, I know. And you know, I went
My
to
social media is a disaster. Okay.
So what I would suggest is there's an intimate connection with the social proof that's possible on the social web, okay, and the personal truth you're sharing actually on your website, your corporate truth. And I think that people are always looking, people are cynical. They want the proof points that are actually there. So fine, if we actually go through this, and let's just let's go to presentation skills training. That seems reasonable. Okay, so when you go down here, what's very good is that there's a consultation, there's a form here, and presumably people will fill that form in. Okay, now I would guess that the number of people that fill that form in is probably relatively low, partially because it's below the fold. You have to scroll up to actually see it. Okay, and most people don't wake up and say, I think I'm going to ask about presentation skills. Let me find a form on the website that says presentation skills inquiry. I would lean a little bit more into what's the solution that they might find? What's the pain that they might be doing it? Maybe instead of presentation skills inquiry, maybe it should be something that says, curious whether presentation skills can make a difference? Spend a few minutes with Earl, with brackets, no cost. Just by changing some of the text, it changes the entire perspective on it. Okay. With respect to the agenda and everything, once again, my God, Earl, you're the man. I would be using video all over the place. Okay, describing exactly what's going on, what they expect to do. And same with all the other training that you're actually offering, that you also offer. The question about my account at the very beginning. Okay, obviously you've got some e-commerce that's there. This is really, really expensive real estate, right? Very, very expensive real estate in the sense that this is what people see first, sometimes before they even see the main menu. So my account might be on the far right, and to use some of this for some of the most important things, you are both the phone number and contact us and maybe about us. Okay, I think the raison d'etre should be up here, giving you the voice to succeed. I'm it's a good tagline. I like it for you, right? But I'm wondering if people are looking for the voice to succeed. This brings up a whole question of SEO. So if you've got good SEO, it's determined by all kinds of factors, the keywords that are on the page, how often the website is updated, the number of inbound links from other sites that have got some Google authority to your website, right? So if I went to Google and search, let me just do that right now, choosing a public speaking coach. You're in Toronto, Earl?
Yes.
In Toronto. What comes up is all kinds of ads. And then there's a whole bunch of presentation skills training services at Google that are basically advertisements from Clutch. Okay. And then there's a whole bunch of other stuff that's there, but there's not you.
No.
Okay. If I were to do choosing a business growth speaker, okay, up at the top comes me. Okay. Oh, and number 2 is me as well. Okay, which is kind of cool, right? So this speaks to the question of awareness and getting people to the site and making sure that the keywords are the ones that are decent and that you've got inbound links, okay, to actually get them there. Now, one of the things that struck me when I did a quick review of the site, I saw a video newsletter. And I thought this is fantastic because you're demonstrating literally what you seek. So I clicked on there, and it moves me all the way down here And right front center is your call to action, book a free consultation.
That's strange.
Okay. No, so this is what my eye sees. Okay, obviously here's the video newsletter. So my question to you, okay, and actually for everybody, and even though we're looking at Earl's Vocal Power website, it's a question for everybody who has got a lead gen form like this or like this. The question is, how have we earned the right to actually ask for the contact information? Here's all this stuff here. How have we earned the right? We're asking them to give us the video, this contact information to get on a mailing list. Have we earned the right to do so? Okay, remember what I said before, every single interaction, either trust goes up or trust goes down. And so you might say, okay, and you could argue that, hey, by the time they've read all of this stuff here, companies, gee, you do all this stuff and everything, on and on and on and on and on. Oh, this is what our mission is. Hey, there's a guarantee just in case. Okay, maybe we have, right? But I'm going to show you a different way of doing the same thing. Okay, I'll just go to my website for a moment, and I will go to white papers. I had mentioned that I've got a bunch of white papers. So fine, here's a bunch of white papers, Driving the Client Journey, Relationship Marketing in the Digital World. And if I click on that, because maybe I'm interested in it, I can actually start reading it. Read. I'm reading. Oh, look at that. There is the trust curve that we were talking about. Read. And then it stops. Want to read more of this white paper? Fill out the form and we'll send the full white paper to you immediately. So in this particular case, for earn the right, and by the way, the prospect is qualified a little bit more too. This reading all of this stuff on this website, well, there's an SEO benefit because it all gets indexed, right? If they spend the time reading through this, they think, yeah, I think Randall and team can help. Okay, and gee, I do want to read this, which means this is a real lead, not just a, with respect to the weekly video thing. For me, I've got a weekly tip sheet. I mentioned this before. Well, here we go. You could read hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. And if you read hundreds of them, here's one, AI labels, building trust by identifying AI generated content. You read this stuff and you think, oh, this is very good. I want to get more than this. So fine, now we've earned the right to actually collect their information, and they're more likely to say, yeah, I'm kind of clearly in that preference zone, not just awareness zone, right? So I'm not saying that what you're doing is wrong here. I'm just thinking that you could probably do better. I think that's it. Rania, was there anything else that you had seen on this website that you want to just sort of add your 2 cents in as well?
Yes, I actually enjoyed hearing you give your feedback from your expertise, but you also know Earl and what he does. I do not know Earl and what he does. I'm happy to meet you, Earl. But if you're ready for another layer of feedback, Earl, you ready? I can share with you my perspective as fresh eyes to what you do. So when I looked at your website, again, I didn't know what you did. Randall sent me the link. I can say for me, it was not immediately clear what you're doing, what service you're providing, what you're selling. So if I see here vocal power, giving you the voice to succeed, why choose vocal power? Are you a relatively good speaker, but no, you could be stronger? Like for me, it's not super clear right away. And if I don't, like the bounce rate on websites is so high, right? So Randall said some good points about adding video and stuff, but also making it very clear that what you're offering. Now let's say I do figure out what you're offering. For me, I only figured it out when I had to scroll down also below the fold. And if you don't know what we mean by the fold, if Randall wants to show you, if you go right to the top where the browser cuts, that line is called the fold. So your key core stuff wants to be up at the top, and you want them to be interested enough to scroll down to see more. So I got the information, if you scroll up, Randall, please, in this second, like down here, today you've made the decision to take action to improve your public speaking. Okay, that's where I figured out who your client is, and I had to scroll down just below the fold to see that. Now, looking at Randall's trust curve, My question is, okay, now I'm clear what you do. I have awareness, but in terms of preference, how do I know Earl's the guy for me? How do I know he understands me and is he servicing me? So you know your clientele more than me. I don't know at all in terms of what they're looking for and who has public speaking issues and what those issues are. But the words that I saw when I scrolled down this page that jumped out at me, you used the words lack of confidence several times. So I don't know, is that the key issue that people have with public speaking? And is that the key issue that your clients have? So if I wanted to work in public speaking, I'm seeing that you're trying to attract people who lack confidence. So I'm just putting that out. That's what I saw. Maybe other people who would read your site would see differently. And the other thing that I saw, if you scroll down a little bit, Randall, if you don't mind, you have as your first service, scroll a little bit more. You have corporate training, public speaking, presidential skills. And here's where in the second one, you talk about group coaching in this one, which isn't clear from the heading, but you talk about sort of group coaching. And then under that, you say personal coaching. Just a little bit more, please, Randall. You say seminars aren't for everyone. We get it. You may feel more relaxed in a private setting. I thought this was interesting because I presume there's more money to be made in personal coaching than group coaching. So I was surprised by the positioning here that, oh, if you don't like, I would say, get there faster with one-on-one coaching. We will focus only on you rather than speaking to the group, where there's definitely what to gain for the group. So for me, this issue about awareness wasn't clear, and the issue on a preference, to me, that's who you're sort of, you prefer to speak to the group. That's what I'm seeing. And you prefer the lack of confidence person with that sort of persona. The other point I wanted to make out, and this is interesting, we talk a lot about this in marketing. You know, we've all heard about the car that was called the Nova. That was a big bust because it means no-go in Spanish. For me, when you use the expression find your voice, for a younger generation, that expression is closely tied to the idea of self-expression and sharing your personal experience, which may very well apply to what you're trying to do. But if it's public speaking skills, it's different. Maybe they're speaking about their personal experience. I don't know enough about your clients. But just looking at that trust curve, as someone who doesn't know your business, those were some things that popped out at me. And on the third point, trial, I don't see a lead magnet. I do see the sign up. But in terms of testing sort of more about what you do, like Randall mentioned, the videos would be an easy one to trial you in a very easy way, but other methods of trial.
Very
Right.
good.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's let me flip over. Craig, would it be okay? Can we talk about yours?
Absolutely.
So this is a very different business. This is a SaaS product that sells CRM, and so it's very, very, very different. And there's a lot, in fact, to like about this. An awful lot to like about this. Number one is the fact that it's very, very clear. Okay, the fact that there's that animation at the very beginning, everything you need to, and then fill in the blank, all the key benefit statements of your product. I personally find it, you know, if I'm sitting on this page, a little annoying seeing it over and over again, but that might just be me. I love the fact that all the speech bubbles around this particular fellow, excuse me, makes the point that, hey, this isn't a one-trick Charlie. This is actually a robust piece of software. And in fact, this might be one of the reasons why it's a little bit different. The other thing that I absolutely love is right at the very top, okay, is schedule a demo. Because I'm suspecting, Craig, that this is the number one way to get people in the door, that if they actually see the product and you're able to understand their business so you can show the parts of the product that are most appropriate to them, that this is a path to a sale. So I love that it's right over here. I didn't know what all these little pop-up little bubbles are. No, of course I did. This over here was accessibility, okay, and it's a very clever way of doing it. But I'm not so sure if everyone knows what this specific symbol is. And of course, this over here is your chat bot or your chat with a real person. Is this a real person, by the way?
No, it's a bot.
AI.
Okay.
It's everywhere.
There we go. Oh, Provide your email address. Oh, I guess I did the wrong one. Okay, I just said I love SmartDesk CRM. Okay, so notwithstanding that, okay, notwithstanding that, so at the very bottom, marketing, sales, and service. Okay, and then you've got a paragraph or a sentence just underneath for each one of them. Okay, I would say that you could probably come up with a second and third word for each one of these things, that speaks to the actual benefit to marketers. Of course, you've got that in the text over here, but if somebody's doing a quick scan, okay, they might not be able to see it. Okay, improve service quality or with blah 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 blah, or sales, nothing slips between the cracks. That's too wordy. But the idea of making it more scannable, I'd also do just a quick AOTA check, a quick WCAG accessibility check on the website. Yes, you've got this, okay, the accessibility menu, but I'm wondering whether in fact this particular color and font size against the white would not pass. Okay, that's an easy fix. Okay, what I really like is that just by scrolling, you can actually see the product. Okay, actually see the product. So my question here is there's always a dichotomy between features and benefits. And if everyone can see what Craig has done is he said, here's the benefit, okay, grow your sales. Here is the feature that we have that makes that possible. Here's the benefit, track your marketing, okay, and here's the feature that we actually have that makes that possible. So I love that you've got these things here. Here's the benefit, here's the feature. I guess I would ask the question whoops, sorry about that. I would ask the question as to, given who is the purchaser of this, what's most important? Is it service, sales, or marketing? Because you may choose to actually have, you may choose to actually have it in a different order. I just don't know about that. I suspect marketing and sales is first, because this is kind of the flow between marketing and sales. And then after you sell, you got service and everything. But who's the decision maker, right? The decision maker may decide that, they may not care about marketing. They may just care about sales because, gee, this is a CRM, they may think. Just a CRM, even though it does far more than a simplistic CRM. Okay. Okay, I don't have any problem with the way the editorial copy was. I will ask whether you did any keyword research with respect to your major competitors to see whether indeed the keywords that they're using are the ones that you actually have here as well. Is that a thumbs up? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. What you actually what are you hoping to do here? There's
Get a lead for a demo.
Okay, so what I would say is something, maybe you can even put it on top of the graphic as a quick fix, essentially to say,
Yeah, the value proposition right there.
or sign up for a demo. Now,
Yep.
I'm very big on A/B testing for SaaS. Okay, and what I'd be very tempted to try is to put a radio button. Okay, which is, I have 15 minutes, I have 60 minutes. And because sometimes people don't sign up for this kind of thing, because they don't want to waste a huge amount of time on the pitch. They just want the 2 or 3 questions answered, or they just want to quickly see the software or whatever it is. But I would give that a try, even though it's yet another field. With respect to the comments, it's important to have it there, but I'm wondering whether you may ask a question like, what is the biggest challenge you're hoping to solve, or something that helps them identify more specifically, something that you could hook into when you're actually doing the demo itself. You know,
Yeah.
Okay. All of these over here are not linked to anywhere. And I'm just wondering whether just developing like a a deeper set of pages might be helpful from an SEO perspective. And, you know, in terms of follow from demos, if you didn't have a chance to do something, you could always say, and by the way, we didn't have a chance to talk about such and such, or for more information on such and such. Okay, customers are our biggest fans. I think one of the things that's missing here is, you know, Smart Desk versus others.
Yeah.
Go to resources.
Yep.
I've got a few.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. My question is whether this should be on the bottom of every page. And from resources, I don't think it's just our blog, but presumably you've got online support and tickets and everything, right? So what you might want to do is you might, because you only have a couple things here, you might want to just add the support there. I know you'll have support directly. Oops, where is support? It's another service?
No, that's the product.
Right.
I'm not sure if I actually did that. Maybe it's on the top. Oh, geez.
Yeah. So listen, this is obviously a bit of a miss, but it's a super easy thing to fix, right? One of the other things that you might want to do is you might want to don't have time for a demo. Okay. You know, watch this 10-minute video.
Yep.
Right. Because, you know, what brings people to this site? Trade shows, yeah, I get that, probably, right? Speaking, presumably.
I don't do any of those things, unfortunately. So I think it's more a validation tool. So people who do hear about us will check out the website. We don't get a lot of traffic there, very competitive industry. So there's a bit of a cost, let's say, to drive traffic to this website.
So it's very competitive. You're in a very, very competitive space. I know a number of your competitors intimately well, okay? Because guess what? I've on one, then I drop it because it doesn't do the good job. Then I'm on another and I drop it, and then etc. So I totally get it. But if it's a validation thing, okay, there doesn't seem to be much in the way of thought leadership here, right? There's the blog, right? But I think that you can expose some of the things and tie it a little bit to why your product might be different, right? So if, for example, you're speaking to a prospect, you've done the demo, okay, you're now a contender, or you're responding to an RFP, they're going to go to the website and they're going to say, okay, how do I know they're really it? Okay, so I read a number of your posts and everything, and they're not bad. Okay, they're not bad. The issue of VP Sales and Marketing, that's kind of your title. It's a good title, but if somebody is reading this from the perspective of, oh, it's a sales guy that's telling me all these things. Well, because you're in the CRM world, it's kind of okay. But I'm just wondering if it needs to have your name under each and every single blog post. Okay. I'd also say that, gee, if somebody's reading this particular blog or any particular blog, what's the call to action at the very end of the blog? So not to say that I do it perfectly, but just to give you an idea, if I went to one of my weekly tip sheets, I was just on one. Post-sale, the most overlooked part of the client journey. So fine, they're reading. Fine, there's a bit of an action plan. Fine, there's some related posts. Okay, does this topic resonate? Reach out so you could present, etc. Download credentials, a content authenticity statement. Okay, and then some content as well. So some contact information. if we look at what's the next step in the actual journey that you want them to take, it's unclear. So fine, there's the standard footer, which people are, they're blind to usually. But if you think about any particular page on your website, oh, what happened to the menu? I would put that back there, Craig. And let me just get back. There we go. Okay. Any particular page. Okay. Our team. So there's the team. What's the next step that you want? You got it. Apply now. Okay. We go to another page, for example. Oh, I don't know. Oh yeah, here's customer support. About. Okay. Interested in joining the team? Okay, so maybe that's okay, right? Solutions, marketing. When they get to this particular page, the call to action should not be just, I'm going to scroll to the bottom, book a demo, right? But this is the reason why I say that is that's a binary choice. People either schedule a demo or they do nothing. But maybe they're not ready to schedule a demo right now. Maybe they need another trial before they get to the demo itself, right? Maybe they're going to be ready in 6 months or 12 months from now, and they're just doing the initial research and everything. Okay, so I would think about the possible paths on this particular customer journey and say, how can I add content there one way or the other? Okay, it's trying, to tell you the truth, Craig, because you're doing a lot of very, very good things on the website, and I just was trying to give you some ideas about you know, what can you do that might make a bit of a difference, rather than pointing out all the things that you're actually doing quite well. Oh, I will ask one other question. If I go to the very bottom of the page, there's no copyright information whatsoever. It doesn't appear anyway. Maybe I missed it, but I think there should be a copyright statement at the bottom of every page, right? You don't want somebody suddenly taking your stuff and suddenly calling it theirs, especially in your particular field.
Yep. Good point.
So I guess we've taken, holy cow, it's 1:01, which time has flown by. Okay, but what I'd like to do is I'd like to ask the question, you know, what's next? Okay, I'm sure everyone can look at their own website and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. Or what you can do is you can say, okay, well, listen, hey, why don't you do an Ask Me Anything meeting with me? I'd be happy to actually speak with any of you one-on-one. Or if you're interested more in digital strategy, we actually have something from the BrainTrust Professional Institute on that. And Rania, can you just put the link to that in the text? Wonderful. And do we have a coupon code?
Yeah, we've Randall has we created a course on digital strategy, and Randall charges big, juicy 5 figures to do this himself. I think it's amazing that he's, you know, letting a lot of his tools and strategies and questions and exercises and activities, and he's packaged it up in this course. All kinds of exercises, branding, rebrand, text, SaaS, working with vendors, RFPs, all kinds of templates, evaluating business risks and opportunities. It's a very interesting course and fun to do yourself, exercises for your company to do with your team. You can delegate certain exercises to your team. And because you're all our best friends, we're giving you a little 50% discount code here. But if you have any questions about the course, it's absolutely fantastic, in my opinion. Anything to add, Randall?
No. Other than, you know, listen, we're not, selling courses onesies and twosies is really not our business. This is just really something to share with you because you're here. Okay. But if you have any questions about how to grow your business, please just reach out to Ronnie or I, and I'd love to have one of those 1 hour Ask Me Anything meetings with you. and see where that goes from. We're going to call the official meeting pop up to the close, but I'm going to stay on the line for a few minutes just for some informal chat if anyone else wants to stay around as well. And Rania, thank you for doing all the organizing and putting all this together. And Earl, Dennis, and Craig, thanks for joining us today.
I have a few little thoughts for Greg if he wants my eyes on his website.
Please. Yes, definitely.
I did not look at your website in advance, so I've sort of been following along with Randall's look. But if Randall, if you want to share the screen again, I'll you'll be my
Yeah, for sure, I can do that.
yeah.
Just doing it as we speak.
So so like Randall said, you know, there's a lot good going on here. The site looks young, it looks modern, it looks like you know, it's fresh, it's new, so that's good. But because it's fresh and new, and because there's so many big players out there, and I at least don't know you as one of the big players, I got my antennas up to see, you know, where's the social proof, where's the proof that you're the real deal. So one important thing that Randall said, for example, was, you know, the copyright, does it look real, does it look legit? For me, it's cute that you have the accessibility thing in the corner, but a lot of this is very hard to read for me. Like the delicate color, this gray, even your subheader, a full suite of marketing, the text, the sentence under these icons is hard to read. And I don't know if you're able to modify this image at the top. Randall, if you don't mind scrolling to the top, everything in these speech bubbles, like the charcoal text on some gray, italicized, I'm finding it very hard to read, just as an observation in terms of accessibility. And then if I pull up that old trust curve and look at this site and sort of just looking at the trust curve, if I'm clear what you do, but I'm not clear how you're different, right? So that for me at first glance, so a lot of sites have sort of those charts, you know, that list all the common features and go like, you know, you can list other products, what they usually have, what you have. And specifically, if you want to say what your real strength is, I don't know what you're sort of leaning into. If you're going, we offer the best service, or we offer the best price, or we offer the best in this, it's not clear. Again, I didn't surf the site. I sort of was following along with Randall. Oh, do you have something like this here? Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. It's on the it's on one of the interior pages.
Yeah. So this is my next point: is that drop-down menus are dangerous. They're tempting to do, they're fun, you set them up, but people are not, I don't know what your traffic looks like on your site. I haven't seen your analytics, but if people are not following down into their sites, anything that's important, you got to get on a main page. Anything important that's going to help them be clear on who you are and who you're selling to and help them identify. I wouldn't hide anything. So if I look at these at the top here, like when you referenced under resources, Randall, what were you told to go there? What was the question, Rand? You asked like about features or stuff. We had to go looking for it. I would put it on the main page here. I also wanted to say, I don't know, like if you have like heat maps of stuff of where people are clicking or looking or where they cut off, I'd be interested to see that. For example, for your buttons, I love that you have 2 buttons and they're different colors. I don't know if you've tested that, which ones are getting more testing, but you might want to flip out every month, try different colors, different combinations and different locations to see what gets the clicks. And like Randall said, always have 2 choices, because otherwise, if they don't like that choice, they're going to bounce. You want to do a second choice. And the other thing, if you scroll down, Randall, please, your graphics are beautiful. It's very modern, how they're tilted and look 3D, but your site's beautiful. I don't know how the usage is. I don't want to give bad advice, but using people is very powerful, because your user is a person and your user wants to identify with what they're looking at. So there's quite a lot of research out there about how to use people. And even with some products, it's better to have a face. Some products, it's better to have the back of the head and not the face, because they don't want to, there's all kinds of research on that. We can discuss it another time. Happy to meet with you. But I'd have to look at it more closely, but well done. And just think about that trust curve and that content. Like Randall said, is the blog buried? Like that trial. How do I try this easily? How do I see that you're an expert in the area?
I'm going to add one other thing, okay, which I didn't go here. So here we have the sign in red, in pink, I should say. it's a different color. It needs to be this because clients need to sign in to actually get access to product. But then we've got this thing here. And for clients who actually go in, this is exactly what you want. You want them focused on doing what? Signing in. And this is all the focus where they need to be. I guess I would ask the question is, what if a prospect came here? Is there any way that this page can be used, okay, for that perspective as well? You know, I know this is sitting on another server, and it's secure and everything like that, and this over here is on a public server that's not secure and everything. But I'm just wondering if there's any way that we could use the sign-in page a little bit better from a marketing perspective. It's just one click down. The key to improving this website, frankly, is recognizing that if you're not spending big money on advertising and other sort of lead gen, demand gen activities, if people are using it just to make sure that in fact you're real, you've got to make sure that it achieves that particular objective. So, you know, I think there's still a lot of work that could be done there. So,
Agree. Yeah, I agree.
So, good thing you have so much extra time, Craig. You know, morning, noon, and night just to work on this. Great. Any other comments, questions people want to ask? I've got around 10 more minutes before I've got to sign off, but it's a Q&A pop-up. So,
Randall,
yeah.
I'm just wondering about, what are your thoughts now about using Google AdWords? They used to work for me, you know, maybe 7 years ago, 5, 6 years ago. Today, oh my God, it is so crowded. And even buying AdWords, I'm turning up on page 2 at the bottom. It was so frustrating this time around. I did it for almost 6 months this time around, and I don't think I'll do it again.
So I guess what I'll say is this, Earl. Well, let me ask first. Are you doing this yourself, like buying the?
No, oh God, no.
Okay, well, that's good. Hopefully, the agency that you've got doing this for you truly has got enough budget to do proper A/B testing. A/B testing on the calls to action. A/B testing on the image. A/B testing on, you know, any of the text. Okay, that the landing page that you actually have is a purpose-built landing page specifically, so you can also, you know, track the conversion when people actually sit there. I think the problem is that sometimes for smaller businesses, there's not so much budget and there's not much attention spent on all this A/B testing. So you know, all of a sudden, anything that does sort of you know, well, first of all, you got to be on the first page, right? Which means that the search terms you might not be able to go with the most common ones, but there should be ones that generate enough traffic sort of on the edges, and your agency should hopefully have a chance to do that. You know, number one. Number two is that anybody that sees it, if they're not clicking on it, right, and if they get to your website and there's no purpose-built landing page that's optimized, and they're not clicking through to that, you're not going to get any business, right? So there, you gotta you know, it's just very, 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 very hard, especially since Apple turned off the all the attribution, and they've sort of cranked up the privacy. It's a lot harder to focus on specific narrow niches. I think that I think that any kind of strategy has got to be not just paid search, but it also has to be organic, right? Because that effectively doesn't cost you anything. By the way, how much do you think I spent on, you know, choosing a business growth speaker? I spent zero. I've never spent a nickel on hiring anybody to do SEO, right? But it seems to be enough inbound links, and there's enough content on the site that it seems to be doing the trick. You know, I would sort of shift a little bit to SEO to make sure, and updating your site so that there's better conversion, right? Not just spending aimlessly on advertising. The other thing that you might try is thinking about sponsorships and partnerships to get your leads, not just advertising, which can be very expensive today.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Ryan.
Any other questions? Stump the Randall, in other words. Craig, what are your thoughts? You've been taking all this in.
Well, there's been a lot shared. The trust curve, just how I kind of played all that in with some other stuff I've been researching and reading this book, listening to this book on Audible called $100 Million Leads by Alex Hormozi. Somebody's aware
Look
of it.
who's in your book club.
Yeah, okay. Boom, there it is. Absolutely fantastic book. And what you were saying, Randall, is it lines up so much with a lot of the content in there. And it just kind of reinforces what I've been learning, right? That it's consistency, it's volume, it's about building trust. And, I started doing a lot of social media posts because I'm like, oh, I'm not doing enough, right? And I burnt myself out because team of one, more or less. I got different people in the company doing different things, but content, sales, marketing, it's all my responsibility. So it's like, okay, I was doing consistent posts before, and then I kind of fell off because I was trying to do too much at once. So can I take things back? We know that, for our product, the trust curve is so important because people don't know us. And it's like, oh, this sounds interesting, but who are these guys? They're going to check us out on G2, social media and videos. They're going to want to see a lot before they sign up. So,
Yep.
we're working on that. We're working on content. We're working on a free trial self-sign-up. We hope to have that done in about a month or so. That's one of the next big things that we're doing.
Huge.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we know that. So, so we're planning a bigger launch in January. It's like, okay, let's just build content, white papers, ebooks, more videos, more tutorials, webinar series. We're trying to build all that up and launch it in January. So, what you've been talking about just gives me confidence that I'm on the right track. I like a lot of what I heard.
Craig, I'll in the Randall Craig books you should read. Okay, here's one of them. Okay, it's called The High Growth Handbook.
Yeah.
By Elad Gil. Okay, scaling startups from 10 to 10,000 people.
Yeah.
Okay, and T2D3. Okay, which is a playbook for B2B software companies to scale. Both of them are great.
Beautiful.
Both of them are great books, I'm in the midst of digesting them again, just because you could never learn enough and so on. So,
Craig, you'll come back next month, December 6th. You'll do the book club reunion. You'll swap notes.
I will not have these fully read by then, just because this is kind of
so we'll come back in January for January 30th, 31st for our advisory board session.
Yeah, that's also a really good one. Craig, it's the one issue really when you're scaling a company like yours is there's only so much time, there's only so many dollars, right? And you've got to spend as much time, frankly, working in the business as on the business. And when you're doing it yourself, it's just very, very hard to just sort of slot that time to be working on the business. I think books are for me, they're fundamental because they're sort of digesting of ideas and everything, but they only get you so far, right? Because like for example, in the book $100 Million Leads, Hormozi, who I've got a lot of respect for, okay, what he did in his B2C kind of, let me see about growing a business, is very different than a lot of businesses today. So if he sort of woke up and sort of plopped himself time gashed right into today, it's not exactly clear to me that he'd be able to duplicate what he did back then today using the exact formulas that he's got in the book. The concepts are good, but the execution of it is going to be very different. For me, most of my clients are B2B, not B2C, right? So one of the reasons why I actually picked up that book was okay, so let me just see this. It's what can we take from there that with changes might be applicable? And there's a lot, but you can't take it directly. It's he's like a different era. So
yep, there's some truth to that.
Craig, it was nice to meet you, and Randall, great to see you as always, and Earl, great to be introduced to you. Ronnie, I will make that date happen soon, but it's been a real pleasure this evening. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you for the insight. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome, Dennis. Bye-bye.
See you all. See you all next
All
month.
right.
Take
Thank you
care.
so much, Randall. Appreciate it.
I'm gonna say
Yeah.
goodbye